Stumpy EVO versus Specialized Enduro.
Both bikes I'm looking at are size S5, equivalent to extra large in other brands. Now on paper, they're pretty similar. They're not exactly the same, but very close. This video is gonna decipher what's the real difference. Now the Stumpy EVO I have has literally like a $2,000 wheel set. That's more than I paid for the Enduro. So I'm gonna focus on ride characteristics and not the amazing components on the Stumpy EVO.
First thing I noticed on the Stumpy EVO, man, that bike likes to play.
First experience on the Stumpy EVO was very pleasant. Absolutely no adjustment period. This bike is awesome. This bike park is best for dirt jumpers, BMXs, not really a mountain bike park, but it fits right into these tiny little jumps. With that huge 1288 wheelbase and S5, I was shocked. Very forgiving bike, excellent for beginners. This one's full 29, so it carries speed quite well. The jumping characteristics were excellent. This one also has a 2023 RockShox Super Deluxe coil on it, and it still jumps really good.
The Specialized Enduro.
Now I'm very familiar with the Enduro and this bike park. Same section of trail. Comparing it to the EVO, man, this bike was not nearly as fun. It doesn't fit into this all mountain, do everything kind of category. It kind of falls on its face when I was on these dirt jump BMX style jumps. And I was like, man, kind of fell in love with the EVO after this run.
It's 170 millimeters of travel. It's a lot harder to get that rear suspension moving. It takes a lot more effort on the rider's end. As were the Stumpy, you don't have to put that much effort in to get the bike moving.
It's crazy where bikes have gone. They both have 170 forks on them and they look very similar when you put them side by side, but man, they ride different. When you have some more challenging terrain, the Enduro really comes to life. Now, I wasn't able to go back to back on the Stumpy EVO at the bike park, but I can tell you the Stumpy EVO seems to run out of travel in the chunk fairly quickly. It features a 210/55 shock, and that shock can be problematic for big riders like myself because it's such a small shock. You end up having to ride like maximum tokens, high spring rates, or a lot of air pressure, and it just doesn't give you that bottomless feel no matter what bike it's on. The Enduro's 205/60 is not necessarily a big shock, but the rear suspension on this bike is bottomless.
So on steeper trails, the Enduro definitely feels better. Like its intended purpose, the all-mountain Stumpy feels substantially smaller when you're on the bike, compared to the Specialized Enduro, just feels very open. Since I've turned back into an Amish bike rider, climbing is very important.
And this is why e-bikes are better than Amish bikes.
Interestingly, the 170 millimeter Specialized Enduro climbs better. The rear suspension feels like a hardtail and just absolutely does not move when you're climbing. The updated Stumpjumper EVO, even with a coil shock, doesn't have that much more pedal bob, but it definitely has more bob in the rear end.
Specialized bikes tend to not have vertical seat tubes, and both these bikes are 76 for the Enduro and 77 for the Stumpy EVO. I can tell you from experience on the Enduro, it's very comfortable, but it can hurt your back on long days because you gotta kind of hunch over. And with these long dropper posts and the bigger sizes, that problem becomes exaggerated.
The Enduro only comes in carbon. You can get the optional carbon frame on the Stumpjumper EVO. Probably the most notable difference is the ride characteristic of carbon. Specialized carbon feels a little bit harsh. The aluminum EVO feels much more soft on the trail. I think a simple drop test will explain this.
So when you're riding the Enduro, there's like no flex in it. It does transfer into forward momentum. I personally prefer the alloy because it feels softer on the body, but if you're all about speed, definitely go for the carbon.
My personal experience on both bikes, I'm an intermediate rider who likes to ride every single kind of trail, so I'm gonna lean towards the Enduro. I was so pleasantly surprised by how playful and fun the Stumpy EVO was, so it's a really hard choice for me. My choice would be an aluminum Specialized Enduro, but they're yet to come out with it. Hope this video helped you. You guys know the drill. Make sure you absolutely do not like, comment, or subscribe, and go ride your bike.